All right, guys, what is up? So draft night is underway, well underway, actually. We're just getting the chance to talk now with each other, but have you guys been watching it?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Yep.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I believe that the Houston Rockets are in their war room right now doing backflips and flipping over tables because they are ridiculously excited
Yeah.
by Jabari Smith dropping to number 3. They're
No.
they're loving that.
Can we talk about this though? Do you think so? Look, let's start with the top 3 people first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, third was Smith, second was Holmgren, and first was Banchero. Of those 3, I'm going to ask you 2 different questions. Who do you think is going to be the better NBA player? Like, who's going to have the best career of the 3? Like, who's going to be the best player of the 3? Like, forget, I want to take up your
like
team.
individual talent.
Like, as an individual player, yeah.
Well, the individual talent, I think that Jabari Smith is that guy. Absolutely. Not only just an individual talent, just his I won't say his work ethic, because I mean there are a lot of guys who work hard, but just 6'10", his ability to handle the basketball, his ability to knock down the mid range. Tone, my buddy, said to me probably 4 months ago, right before the SEC started, the SEC season started, and they were in their preseason games. And he said to me, yo, we need to go check out this kid, Jabari Smith. He reminds me of Lenny Baez. And I got chills. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Yo, do you remember Lenny? Are you serious? He was like, listen, that's who he reminds me of. So immediately I'm in front of the TV finding out the schedule of Auburn, because I'm thinking, I got to go see this kid. Who is he? And he looks like a franchise player, Tone. That's what he looks like to me. He looks like a guy that if you're a GM, I'm building my unit around him. That's what he looks like.
Haley, you're in agreement there, it looks like?
Yeah, I definitely think as far as individual talent, Jabari is a special kid. I mean, he's 6'10", he's pretty physically fit. He's kind of versatile, able to play kind of multiple positions. So I loved how the draft started tonight. It just kind of popped off. Although I do think Chet, if he can put on some weight, and I think he can have quite a high ceiling as well. But hey, you never know.
That's my question to you, Tone. And you had mentioned him. Tone, I don't know why I don't love this kid. I'm trying to make sense of why I should love him at number 2 or at the number 1 overall pick, and I don't. And it's not because of his frame, because KD came in and he was wiry. Reggie Miller is wiry. So there are a lot of guys who don't necessarily fill out. And I mean, when Giannis came in, Giannis was under 200 pounds when he first came in. So there aren't guys fill out, but they fill out in different ways. But I don't love this kid, and I don't understand why I don't. Is it his athleticism? His skill set looks like it's elite. I can't put my finger on it, but I don't love him, and I don't understand why.
For me, I'm with you. I don't know that I can explain why. I think he's very talented. I think I think my problem with him is they're comparing him to Kevin Durant, and he could also end up being Porzingis. And that's where I think I have a difficult time, because that's a pretty wide gap. And we're going to get to it. Yes, I see people in the chat already asking about KD is not a superstar. We will get to that, I promise. And that's my problem with him. When I look at him, I see a kid that could be great, and I see a kid that could be a total bust. And listen, maybe that's everybody in the draft. I see more bust in it. You know what it is? I'm trusting my gut. Right? When I saw Zion, I said, wow, through the roof talent, I feel like he's going to have injury issues. So far, I've been right. I want to be wrong. I've said this before. I want to be wrong, but I was right. And my gut is telling me he's going to have issues. I'm really surprised that Smith didn't go first overall, because he also looks to be, like, body-wise, the most NBA ready to make a difference right now. And I don't know what it is. Like, Duke, high-pick Duke guys just have, like I said this before, it's like quarterbacks from Ohio State. There's something going on there.
Yeah.
So that's, I really thought that they were going to go with Smith, because I think it's the safer pick.
Right. Now, with Holmgren, again, his skill set looks like it's elite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, to to compare him to Porzingis, that's really not a bad comparison because I look at a guy in Porzingis before he tore his knee up, he was 20-8, and he was on his way to being something special. Now, he still is when he was with Luka. I think that was just a bad fit with him being with Luka because he was, I think, 17-7 or 16-7. It just wasn't a good fit for him. But I think Porzingis is a better athlete than Chet, and I think that's one of the things that's bothering me the most. Not bothering me, but pushing me the other way of why I don't love him. Now, the thing that I'm concerned with this kid from Orlando is what are they doing in Orlando, Tone? What kind of program do they have down there? Because we got this kid Fultz, number 1 overall pick, who number 1 overall pick who ended up tearing up his knee. We got Anthony down there. You got Mo Bamba, who's been down there for 4 years, and we haven't really gotten much from him. Is this kid going to go down to Orlando, and is he just going to disappear?
Don't forget Suggs.
I didn't even get the Suggs, right? So what are they doing down in Orlando? What kind of program are they running down there? Is this kid going to go down there, and are we not going to hear from him again? So that's the thing I'm concerned with the most in Orlando.
Yeah. My fear with Orlando, and that's what, remember I said this to you on Tuesday. I'm worried about young players in Orlando because when I look at the other teams that are young, Memphis, OKC, Cleveland, they seem, even Detroit seems to have like an idea. It looks like they're building an identity. Like I can look at the roster and understand what they're trying. Now, it might not work, but I see what they're trying to build. And then I look at Orlando and I'm like, I don't know what they're doing. They've got like these random pieces. I feel that how are they going to fix them together? I do want to ask a question. I don't know if JD, hopefully you're paying attention. Is there a way? I thought we said we're going to try to get the ticker in here of the draft picks. If we can't, that's cool. But we're going to have to figure it as they go through.
Yeah, I'm sure the chat will be able to let us know too.
Tone, you also got to remember. You also got to remember too, Tone. When you're talking about the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, we can't get this wrong, Tone. We got to get this right. Like we can get the number 17 pick. We could get the number 22 pick sort of kind of right. The number 1 pick in the draft, we can't get that wrong. We can't get the number 3 pick.
It sets you back. Just look at Orlando. Had Orlando not got duped by Danny Ainge, and they take Jason Tatum or whatever the case may be, right? They're probably in a much better position than they are today. It's remember that movie, The Butterfly Effect? And I know there's a saying, like one flap of a butterfly's wings can change it. You get that 1 pick wrong, and it sets your franchise back for years. And it's, there's not much. That's why I'm scared about these, these projects. Like I like projects if you have a roster that can handle a project. To draft a project when your team is, at the, I don't know. And I guess maybe that's it. You got nothing to lose. So let's take a chance.
Well, but a lot of times when you have projects, Tone, you get projects put on teams that's full of vets. So you got a guy in the middle of the first round, like Manute Bol or Bol or somebody like that, where we could develop this guy and we have time. When we're taking this kid out of Duke with the number 1 overall pick, we have to get this right because he's got to be an impact player immediately. He can't be an impact player over the next 3 or 4 years. No, because that general manager, if he gets this wrong, he's getting fired. That coach is getting fired. So this guy has to be an impact player immediately. So when you're talking about the number 1, the number 2, the number 3 pick, that's why Houston is doing backflips and flipping over tables in their war room. Because I'm 100% confident they got it right with this kid, Jabari Smith. They absolutely did.
Well, I agree. And
my apologies. It was Philadelphia, I think, that picked. I think we said Orlando, but it's Philadelphia that drafted Fultz, correct? Yeah.
Yes, that's who it was.
But hey, that's why I keep telling you the process failed.
Yeah. Well,
it really did. Like, I'm sorry. Yes, they got Embiid, and he obviously turned out to be phenomenal. But all right, do you want to do more draft stuff? Do you want to jump into
I want to pose a question out of the first 3 that we're talking about, Paolo, Chet, and then who is the third?
Pachero, Jabari Smith, and Chet.
Jabari, yeah. So out of those three, because I do want to move into the Kings and kind of what next season might look like for them, with this new pick, as well as Mike Brown now being on the team, and what is this, like a death sentence for them, or what are we looking at next season? But out of the first three picks, who do you see fitting into the team that they are now being drafted into the best in kind of elevating that team as a whole? Because I know, I mean, all three teams are they need some help. They need to make it to the playoffs, and they need to keep progressing. So who do you see kind of best elevating that team?
Well, when I look at Houston, right? So I look at a guy in Jabari Smith who can play the 3, he can play the 4, right? And not only is he versatile, he looks like he's going to be really good on the defensive end. So now you put him coupled with Jalen Green, right? So now you got two pieces that I may be able to build my unit around, right? So when I look at the Orlando Magic, once again, I look at this program and I don't know exactly what they're doing. That's the Orlando Magic is the biggest question mark for me, because even if Jabari Smith went there, I still would have questions because I don't know exactly what it is they're doing. I'm not questioning him as a talent. At least in Houston, they actually look like they have an idea of what they're doing. They moved off of Christian Wood, right? They moved off Christian Wood, and now they bring in Jabari Smith. And it looks like they're going to build this unit around Jabari Smith and around Green. Now, when I look at Oklahoma City is one of those teams that just have time. They got a bunch of picks. Not only do they have a bunch of picks, they got a bunch of young guys that they're building around. And there's no sense of urgency in Oklahoma City like there is in Miami or in New York. Those people are very patient in Oklahoma City. So they're going to watch those kids grow, as opposed to there's not a lot of patience in Los Angeles. There's not a lot of patience in New York. So I think that they'll be the most patient with Chet. But I think that when I look at Jabari Smith, I think that he's the guy. I think he's the best player in the draft.
Okay, and to go off that, Travis Lindsay hit us with a question in the super chat. Leg day and listening. Quick take on Grant. Do you think it was a steal for Portland? Which is a great question, because I mean, Portland is another one of those big question marks. Like, what are we looking at? What is Dame working with next season? So
can we first applaud Travis for not skipping leg day? Because it's very important.
It's very important.
You don't skip leg day, because most people do, and it's a huge mistake.
No, don't skip leg day.
Yeah. I was down at the beaches there of Jay's, in Florida. I saw big upper bodies and these little toothpick legs. You can't skip leg day.
Nope. Cannot skip leg day. It's very important to skip.
I'm really high on Jermaine Grant. I don't know why he kind of bounced. I can't pronounce people's names.
Jermaine, that would be me, and I'm not.
Yeah, you just mix them.
It's because I'm looking at your name on the screen. They can't actually see it. I can't. So Grant, I really like Grant. I don't know why he's kind of bounced around a little bit. I think he's really good. And I think, is it a steal? I don't know. It depends, right? What was it, a 2025? 2025 first round pick? If Portland's good, it's a steal. If they stink, and is it protected? I don't know. Is it lottery protected?
Yeah, 1 to 4 is protected.
1 to 4 is protected. Okay, so if it's number 5, it's probably not a steal. Again, depending on who's in the draft in 2025. Right. When's Bronny coming out?
Probably 2 years from now.
So 2020. So maybe the year before that. Okay, so then they're okay, because you lose Bronny and you lose LeBron. But no, I think it's a good deal depending on. Again, the expectations were going to be good, so it's going to be a pick, 25 and later. I think that's fair for Grant. I don't know what. What do you see in his game? Why is he not sticking?
Well, here's the thing. When I look at, I think it's good from Detroit, from their aspect, and the reason why is because I think that they've opened up a lot of money, because I think that Ayton is their guy. Now, I know how you feel about Ayton, Tone. I know you're not a big fan of his, but I think that he's at 23 years old, at 18 and 10. I think he's a better fit in Detroit. And not only do I think he's a better fit in Detroit, I think that they could build that unit around him and Cade. So they've opened up a lot of money with moving off of Jeremy Grant. Now, the thing that I'm clouded about is Jeremy Grant moving to Portland, because with Jeremy Grant, that's 19 a game that's coming from Detroit. Now, Tony, you and I know this just as well. Somebody got to lead a bad team in scoring. Somebody got to lead a bad team in rebounding, which means that I'm not sure that this is going to translate when he gets to Portland. Now, let's just say for the sake of argument that it does translate, where he is 18 and 19 a game. Where are they? Are they Are they a first round exit at best? How does that help Damian Lillard? Even though from what I understand, Tony, he requested Jeremy Grant, but how does that help them? Because when I look at Jeremy Grant, I look at that Portland Trailblazer team, Damian Lillard will be 32 years old next month. So we're looking at a guy who's got maybe 3 more years at best at this level before he starts slowing down. We can't waste any more of Dame's years. So to get Jeremy Grant, what does that do for them in terms of pushing them over the top? Are they going to go to the semifinals? Are they going to be in the Western Conference Finals? What does he do for them that they don't already have?
I'm assuming it's the first piece of many, right? Like Portland needs an overhaul, right? They got rid of McCollum, which I agreed with. I didn't think that was a good fit in the backcourt with him and Dame.
Why don't you like that, Tone, by the way? Before you go any further, why didn't you like that? What was your problem with that?
It didn't work.
Actually, it did. They went to the Western Conference Championship in 18-19. What are you talking about, Tone? It did work. They just ran into a Golden State Warrior team. But why didn't you like that?
Because I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good enough. It wasn't good enough. Again, for what you want. If you want to make the playoffs and make an exit, they're fine.
I think it may have been the other pieces though. Like Nurk was never a great piece for Portland. I think some of the other factors in that team were issues, including coaching, which then they bring Chauncey in and all these new elements. But they just didn't have the time to put it all together. I love CJ in Portland. I've watched many a game with them.
I know you're a big Dame fan. When you see Dame and CJ, when you looked at them, did you think this is an elite backcourt in the NBA that could go to an NBA final?
I thought
it's no Clay and Steph, but it wasn't. It was definitely good.
How far off were they from Clay and Steph?
It wasn't close. They got swept in the West Finals, Tone.
Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't close. Meaning, make a move. So you're going to pick one or the other. And listen, Dame's better than CJ, so you go with Dame, which makes sense. What I didn't like is, so they got rid of CJ, they got rid of Norman Powell. I don't know that they got the return for those two guys.
No.
And I know Powell's
and Rob.
It's probably more to do with the money. But it's just like Grant is the first piece of what I'm expecting to be more moves. They need to bring in someone. I'd like to see a big, right? I'd like to see a big paired up with Dame. I just think Dame is such a ball dominant guard that to have another guard that needs shots, it's really hard. Like the difference between Dame and Steph is Steph, and I'm gonna here come the chat. I don't even have the chat open, so just you're gonna have to read it, okay? Because I'm watching the draft. Is that Steph will say, "Hey, you're hot." He'll take a back seat and say, "Go." I don't know that I see that from Dame. So I feel like he's better paired Jalen Williams to OKC. So I don't see Dame being that guy. So I'd rather see him paired with a big, just because of the way that he plays. I think that's a better, for his style of play, I think it works. I don't think Grant's that guy. I think Grant is a good role player. If he takes that role, he's, you kind of said, can he, 18, 19? No, I think he's more like a 14, 15.
That's not good enough. That's not.
That's what he is. That's what he is.
That's not
He's
good enough,
15
man.
And if you're lucky, a 15 and 10 guy. That's what he is.
That was his uncle on the Bulls. That's who that was. That was his uncle on the Bulls when he was with Jordan and Pippen. That was 14, 15. That was a dirty work guy. That's a role player. That's not good enough for a guy that's not good enough for a guy who's going to be 32, who's still in the middle of his prime and is trying to chase winning. That's not good enough for him. That's not. What you're doing is now you're wasting more of his years.
Yeah. Sorry, Jay, go.
Or you're wasting Grant's years?
No, you're wasting Dame's years.
No, but that's what I'm saying but that's who Grant is. That's what I'm saying. You're going to need to bring in, I think, a top tier big to pair with Grant.
Right. Now, if you're going to do that, because you said that, Tone, you said with moving off of Norman Powell. I mean, the Trailblazers did open up a lot of money.
I know,
money. Yeah. They did open up a lot of money. So in the process of them opening up a lot of money, the plan is that they're going to go shopping. That's the plan. Here's my issue with that. Once again, we're talking about getting Jeremy Grant. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 3 years ago, the New York Knicks had over $40 million in cap room. They ended up with Julius Randle. Okay.
That's the
Portland, Oregon is not New York City. So How am I attracting a big time free agent if the New York Knicks couldn't get, with all the money that they had,
Okay, but
they
hold
couldn't
on.
get
I'll say this: the Knicks aren't the Knicks that you and I remember, right? James Dolan has turned the Knicks into an undesirable location. Okay, so that's the difference with the Knicks. Two, the Knicks didn't have Dame Lillard, and as much as I think that you kind of said they're kind of wasting Dame's talent a little bit, right? I think players around the league know how talented Dame is, and you're assuming someone is going to want to play with Dame.
I'm thinking about it from the aspect of it being Portland. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about it from the aspect of it being playing with Dame Lillard. It's Portland. Well, because the same logic goes to when James was in Cleveland. He's the best player in the game. He's still in Cleveland, though. So because he's in Cleveland, that's a big reason why guys aren't going there. It's not because, LeBron James, I don't know if I'm going to be great when I'm playing with James, but I got to live in Cleveland. So I got to live in Portland.
You don't have to live in Cleveland.
I got to live in Portland. So
Portland is beautiful.
Ouch.
Portland is absolutely fantastic.
The market
that's the issue right there, Haley. The fact that it's one of the smallest markets. It's one of the smallest markets in the NBA.
Old school. It's no,
it's not, Tone. No, it's not. You know why? Because teams like Oklahoma City, Portland, Minnesota, they're not desirable places for big time free agents. So they got to build it through the draft. So because they build it through the draft.
Okay, but that's a bad team in a small city, right? With no star players. This is a good team historically, not great, but a good team who has a star player, right? Who has Nike blocks away, which means huge endorsement opportunities. So if someone's looking at that as a small market, I can't live in that, then Portland needs to do a better job with their marketing department, because I can make a huge case for why Portland is a great place to go and play, because not everybody wants to live in LA or New York, in a big city with all those things, especially now because of the internet and social media and all this. You don't have to be in New York to make endorsements and those types of things. You can be anywhere.
Well, if that was true, Tone, if that was true, then Anthony Davis wouldn't have left New Orleans. If that was true.
Is that why he left New Orleans, or did he leave New Orleans to go play with LeBron James in LA?
And also he went there to make more money. And he was more marketable in Los Angeles than he was in New Orleans. James left Cleveland not because Cleveland wasn't winning; they were in the NBA Finals. He also left there because it's a bigger market, and I can make more money. Because at the end of the day, Tone, we do care about this.
Which time that he left Cleveland?
The second time when he left to go to Los Angeles.
Yeah, the second time he left because he wants to start a production company, and that you're going to do in LA. But I'm saying that's not every player. Not every player wants to live.
No, they don't.
Right? Because if every player wanted to live in LA and New York, the Knicks would be a lot better.
For sure.
Right? Because they had $40 million and they got Julius Randle. So not everybody wants to play for, or live in LA or New York. Is all I'm saying. And listen, I'm not just saying this because Haley lives in Portland. I'm saying Portland, you can make a really good case for Portland. Like I said, Nike alone is a huge endorsement opportunity. The tax situation, if you live in Washington, you don't have to pay state tax, and there's no retail sales tax in Oregon. There's ways to make more money if you live in places like Washington, Texas, Florida. You know what I mean? So,
well, first of all, just so you know, Haley, Portland is one of my favorite cities in the world. I've been to Portland more than once, more than twice. I love Portland. I've been to a bunch of Trailblazer games up there. So that's not the story. The story is that it hasn't been a desirable place for big time free agents. That's the difference.
Yeah. Well, and think about it, like off the top of your head, if you're a player and you're presented with Portland or LA, like I feel like most of them would love to play in LA. It's the big stage, and it's Hollywood for basketball. I mean, there's large markets that would be exciting to go to.
Give me a big name free agent.
A big name free agent today? Well, yeah. DeAndre Ayton is a big name free agent.
Okay, DeAndre, here's the thing. We're the Lakers. We're calling. All we can offer you is the mid-level exception, or you can go to Portland for a max.
That's not the same thing, Tone, because he's not just going to go.
The situation we're in
no,
right
it's
now.
not.
Right,
he's not going to play in Los Angeles for. He's not going to go play in Los Angeles for a little bit of money. But
no money.
Right. That's not why he's not going to play in Los Angeles, because they don't have money. he's not playing. If all things were considered equal, and the Los Angeles Lakers go, yo, we got $175 million for 5 years, and the Trailblazers got $190 million for 5 years, he's going to Los Angeles.
Are you sure? You know him personally that he would go?
He's going to Los, because that $15 million extra dollars, I'm gonna make that back times 5. So he's absolutely going to Los Angeles.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
Jalen Duran. I'm gonna say his name. Duran. Hornets.
Ooh,
Just
okay.
From Memphis.
Honestly, past like 6, I'm not super familiar, but that's good.
I'm just
For
gonna call him out as I see him.
So Travis Lindsay had another super chat just before we get off the Portland topic, and I remember this kind of circulating around last season. Bradley Beal to Portland, but now is that even a possibility this upcoming season, and would that be a good move for Portland?
I don't think that's a big enough upgrade. Look, he's better, significantly better than CJ McCollum, but I don't think that's a big enough upgrade to get them over the hump.
Okay.
I don't think he's leaving any of that money on the table in Washington. So
no,
absolutely. I don't think he's leaving any of that money on the table in Washington. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to stay in Washington.
Listen,
for that specific reason, right there. No other reason except the fact that he's not leaving any of that money on the table.
Money is a huge motivator. Why do you think John Wall picked up his player option?
Why do you think Dame's still in Portland?
No, I think Dame's really loyal to Portland. I think it's less about the money for Dame. No, I think he's really loyal to Portland.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yes.
No.
A little bit of both.
Yes.
He is loyal. Like he's
I'm just saying,
I think it is both.
He strikes me as kind of the older school. Like I want to make it here. I don't want to go somewhere else. And he said it. Like I don't want to go somewhere else and win. I want to win here. And I think that, listen, I admire that. I like players who stay with the team that drafted them and say, I want to win here. Look, there's situations where, it just doesn't make sense. And like I said, I never knock anybody for leaving and going to a better situation. But, I get it. I understand.
Yeah. Well, I just for next season, Jay, you kind of shook your head when I mentioned the Kings and Mike Brown and all that they have going on in that organization. And I heard this today that, the GM or owner is like, we are going to the playoffs next season. Like, I want us to make the playoffs. Is that even a possibility, even with this new, Jaden Ivey pick, or is that not something that we should keep on our radars?
Well, first of all, Jaden Ivey they passed on him. Right?
So it was
they passed
Jabari?
on him, and they went with the kid Murray from Iowa. They went with the kid Murray from Iowa. But we're talking about a Sacramento Kings team that has the largest playoff drought. 16 years since they've been to the playoffs. That's number one.
That's crazy.
Ever since they were robbed.
16 years since they've been to the playoffs. That's number one. Number two, their general manager at the time, Mr. Vlade Divac, passes on Luka Doncic. Why? Because there's a conflict between him and Luka's father. That's a fireable offense right there. You should have been fired on the spot right then and there because him and his father apparently have a problem. Now, with all of that being said, they botched so many draft picks. Not only have they botched so many draft picks, they screwed up Boogie Cousins. They screwed up so many different people, just like the Orlando Magic. I have no idea what they're doing in Sacramento. And I think about De'Aaron Fox wasting away up there and them doing nothing for him. Yes, wasting away and them doing nothing for him. And every year, these guys are 12th in the Western Conference, 13th in the Western Conference, and they're not sniffing the playoffs. And they're just botching draft pick after draft pick. Mike Brown is their head coach coming into the season. I'm interested to see what the plan is with Mike Brown, what he plans on doing with that unit. But with that being said, I just want to know what Sacramento is doing as a whole. What is their plan with these young guys? What are they doing? And I don't know. So when I think about this kid Murray, what is their plan with him? I mean, to hand over Halliburton the way they did for a bucket of extra crispy and a 6-pack?
Yeah.
We have a trade. The Knicks have acquired Jalen Duran, and Kemba Walker is now a Detroit Piston.
Who they're going to
Wow.
move off of. Wow.
Kemba. Okay.
And we have
All right, New York.
and we have a, you're crazy. The Kings got Sabonis. OG, you tripping.
No, I'm not tripping. What are they doing with Sabonis? I understand them getting Sabonis, right? I understand them. I understand them getting Sabonis for Halliburton, right?
Is it time for contraction?
I've been saying that. I've been saying that for years, but these teams that I was thinking about contracting, they've actually gotten better. Because I wanted Memphis gone. I thought Memphis should be out the league. I was trying to figure out why.
I want Memphis to change their name.
I wanted Memphis gone. I did. I thought that Memphis, the program that they were running down there for a lot of years, I thought that they were a joke. Sacramento, I'm not ready to contract Sacramento. I do think that there needs to be a team in Seattle, though. I will tell you that.
Well, the rumor is 2024. Could you all see? We have a super chat from Travis. Could you all see Tyler Hero to Portland?
No, don't want it.
You don't want Tyler Hero?
No. I honestly, like, here's the thing with Tyler. I think he has so much potential.
You don't need a hero. I need a hero. No.
I always think of the Jack Harlow song, "My Boy Tyler," who plays in South Beach.
Right.
You know that song. But no, I just think that Dame needs more. He needs more of a veteran to be on his side, or even a few years older than Tyler. But I might be mistaken. Do you think he'd be a good fit, Fluent?
I think that looking at Tyler Hero, I think he's in a great situation in Miami. For him to now come to Portland, I think his game would travel because he's a guy who's going to come off the bench and give you buckets. Right? He's a guy who's going to come off the bench.
But that's the problem. That's the problem. If he goes to Portland, they're going to start him, and I think his strength is coming off the bench and scoring on bench players.
Well, not only that, Tone, Portland isn't the defensive team that Miami is, and they can't hide him like they do in Miami. So that's going to be a problem also, and that's going to completely drop his value. So I don't know how well he fits in Portland overall. I think that he fits in terms of his ability to score, but I'm talking about overall and what they're trying to do, because, again, I keep talking about the Trailblazers and why they aren't building a better unit around Damian Lillard, who's in the middle of his prime. I'm having a difficult time with that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what other moves are made. Anything else, Fluent, that you see major in the draft, or should we move on to a top 5 small forwards?
Well, I think first we're going to address the KD isn't a superstar. And then,
yes, absolutely.
Because I'm seeing it keeps popping up in the chat. In fact, kudos. I don't know how many of the people that are in the chat, but maybe people who watch this. Kudos to all the people who have jumped onto my social media, Twitter, IG, and TikTok. It's sports_fluent. Kudos to them going and replying and commenting on every single post that has nothing to do with Kevin Durant and saying Kevin Durant isn't a superstar, smacking their heads. I think it's fantastic. Keep it up. It helps with the views. It helps with the algorithm. I really appreciate it. I've got I think an extra, 700 followers just from the algorithm push that we've gotten. So thank you. So let me I don't know if you guys are still on, but for the people who are asking, here it is. So I'm gonna clarify what my thinking is. So the question was, if you recall, moving forward, what do we think of XYZ players? And I said this. And then I got a little animated and I said past tense when I was meaning future tense. So let me now
current. We were speaking currently.
Now that I'm calm, I'll say it smoothly. I don't believe that Kevin Durant right now, where he is in his career, with the injuries having catch up to him. Listen, I think age is going to be a factor. I don't think he's going to be what I consider to be a superstar player moving forward in the next few years, because what I consider to be a superstar player, and this is the difference, because most people, you ask them, who are superstars in the NBA? And they give you a list of 30 people. Oh, every team has a superstar. Yeah. Not for me. I'm not saying you're wrong if you do, but for me. So for me, Kevin Durant, for me, what a superstar is someone who is an elite player. Like I'm talking top 5 in the league. Like
that's Kevin Durant, check.
Unquestionably a top 5 player.
Okay, that's Kevin Durant.
They are the leader of their team.
That's Kevin Durant, check.
They are playing significant amount of games, like 70, 75 plus games. So they're available because that's an
Okay.
ability. So they're playing a lot of games.
Okay.
And the team is built around them, and they lead their team into a deep, deep playoff run.
Okay, that's Kevin Durant.
So they got all the stats. They got the elite status. They're all NBA, possibly all defensive team, right? They're the best of the best. So that's why when I say there's maybe 2, maybe 3 guys who I'd put into that superstar status. Now, here's the thing. Because you were a superstar doesn't mean that you'll always be a superstar.
Right.
And I give this example. I'll give 2 examples. Michael Jordan, superstar, right? We agree, right? Through the 90s, he was a superstar. In Washington, he was not. Although he sold a lot of tickets, he was not a superstar in Washington by my standards. He did not lead a team deep into the playoff run. Last year, LeBron James I consider him, he's going to be a superstar this year. Here's my thing. Would you consider LeBron James last year's performance for himself, superstar performance, but his team didn't make the playoffs? Do you give him superstar status? For me, I'm iffy with that because part of it is leading your team deep into the playoffs, and he couldn't even get them into the playoffs, and he only played 55 games. Kawhi Leonard last year didn't play. So was he a superstar before? Yes. Could he be a superstar next year, the next 2 years? Maybe. Last year, he didn't even play. So he's out of my superstar category for last year because he didn't play. So that's what I'm saying. I'm very specific, and it's year to year. So what I was saying, so to be clear.
Whoa. Pump the brakes. Stop right there. Why does it change from year to year, Tone? If you're a superstar, my game hasn't declined, right? So if I got hurt, injuries happen, but my game is still what it is. So why does it go from year to year? Because when we're talking about guys who are superstars, there's a reason why they're superstars, because they're elite and we expect them to be elite. That's why they're there. So why does it change for you from year to year? Either you on board with them or you're not, Tone. Which one is it?
So if Kevin Durant comes out this year, plays 40 games, averages 15 points a game, is he still a superstar because you thought he was last year?
No.
So that's why it changes year to year.
But that's not going to happen, though. That's unrealistic, Tone, because if Kevin Durant comes out this year and he averages 24 a game and the Brooklyn Nets are in the Eastern Conference semifinals in Game 7 like they were the year before that, and they lost in overtime, he was a superstar. So he was a superstar last year. This season, he wasn't a superstar to you because he got hurt. Even though the Brooklyn Nets were at the top of the Eastern Conference, he was at the top.
Hold on. You're doing what the guys on social media did. I'm not talking about current. I'm talking about future. I'm saying in about 2 years, I see his prime being over and him not being a superstar.
Right, and I understand.
Could I be wrong?
Wait a minute, Tone. We can say the same thing. We can say the same thing about Giannis. Could roll his ankle in 2 years, and he can't be the same guy that he was. We can say the same thing about James. James in 2 years because he's going to be 40 years old. But we ain't talking about Kevin Durant in the future. No.
But that's what I was talking. We said moving forward. I don't think moving forward.
Okay, so moving forward would be next season. Even though this season he was a superstar until he got hurt. According to your standards, he was a superstar because he met 3 of the 4 criteria for you being a superstar. So moving forward,
he missed the 4th. He got swept in the first round. Superstars can't get swept first round.
Well, let me ask you both this really quick because superstars, like by definition, let's say MJ, when we look back, we don't say, oh yeah, he was like a 3/4 time superstar. No, like he was a superstar. Steph Curry, like even if he declined, was he a superstar or was he not? Like KD was a superstar, and I think until he proves for a long period of time, maybe 2 to 3 years, then maybe we can call him something else, right?
Because we can do the same thing with that logic, Tone. We can do the same thing with Steph Curry. Steph Curry is a superstar this season. Is that correct?
100%.
Okay, so last year his team lost in the play-in game. Is that correct?
Correct.
And he led the league in scoring. Was he a superstar last year? No. According to your logic, no. So that means that the year before that, when he broke his hand and he was out the entire season,
he wasn't a superstar.
Right, he didn't play. So he wasn't a superstar when he didn't play. He wasn't a superstar last year, but this year, because his team won the NBA championship, and he didn't have a great season, by the way, because after he cracked the 3-point record, his game went like this. But because his team won the NBA championship and he had a good run, he was a superstar this year.
He performed well in the playoffs.
Even though this dude has been elite for the last 7-8 seasons, 6, he's been elite.
That's why I said I understand that it's not what most people think. I hold my superstar status very, 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 very elite. And sorry, this club Not many are getting in from year to year. Now, to answer your question about the career, yes, when I look back at someone's career, we'll say, hey, for the majority of their career, were they a superstar? Were they elite? And then we'll say, yes, they were, right? But was Jordan a superstar in year 1 and 2? No. Was he a superstar in the final 2 years? No. Does that mean his career, he wasn't a superstar? No, that's different. We're comparing, you can have a career as a superstar, but you don't play to, maybe I'm saying
Okay,
it wrong.
first of all, Jordan was a bad example.
Level, hold on. You don't play to superstar level every year. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. So
yeah,
I don't expect him. Okay, so I don't expect him to play at that superstar level.
Okay.
In the upcoming years. Maybe I described it wrong then. That's what I'm trying to say. You could be but you just like all-star. Bad example, but you might not be an all-star every single year, right? But 10 out of 12 years you're an all-star. Okay, cool. You're an all-star player.
So with that being said, Kevin Durant, with this season that just passed, even though he was injured last season, right? I think he missed like 35 games or something like that. He got hurt. This year he also got hurt. So I do think that he's on the other side of his prime. In terms of it, I do think that he's on the other side of his prime, but his ability, in terms of his availability, is the only thing in question. His skill set and what he produces has not been in question. So if that continues, and not only if that continues, if he continues to lead this team the way he's been leading them, according to your logic, Kevin Durant still is a superstar.
If I don't expect him to do that, but if he does, then yes. What I think we're going to see from Kevin Durant is an injury-prone, when he plays, like elite player, but not playing to a superstar level where he can be the focal piece. Everything's falling off my table. The focal piece, number one guy that a team is built around to be a championship contender. So that's why I say I know that my standards are high. I've said this before. Half the guys in the Hall of Fame I don't think should be in there. I'm not suggesting. I have a very, very high standard for players because I think we throw these superstar, I think we throw them out too easy. And I don't like it. Or we confuse talent, right? Like someone just saw it, like Tracy McGrady. Tracy McGrady, superstar talent, not a superstar. You see so that's what I'm saying. I don't think he's going to play to a superstar level moving forward. I think Father Time, injuries have caught up to him.
I can agree with on the one side of I don't differentiate between great player and superstar talent. I don't differentiate. What I care about is what you did as a player and what you produced. What your talent is and what you also produce. I don't differentiate between the two. However, when I think about a superstar, the main thing that for me is consistency. Were you this guy for this long? How long were you at the top of the league? Kevin Durant been a top 5 player for a decade. He was a top 5 player this season before he got hurt.
When we look back at his career, we will say overall, yes, superstar player.
Tony, you keep saying when we look back at his career, he's still playing and he's still playing at a high level. It's not like even though he's on the other side of his prime, he's still playing at a high level. And because he's still playing at a high level and he's been a superstar, and not just playing at a high level, he's been a superstar, playing at a superstar level. It hasn't been much of a drop off. Tone, the dude averaged 29 a game this season before he got hurt.
I think he's gonna drop off.
He's in the MVP race before he got injured. I mean, I think it's too early.
All I'm saying, I think he's gonna drop off.
I think it's way too early to say that though, because he has suffered injuries. He got placed on a new team where it's been drama. Like
it sounds like he's going to another new team again.
No, he's not going anywhere.
You sure?
I don't think so.
I don't know about all that. I mean, what about Kyrie though, Jay? Do you see him staying or do you see him bouncing now too?
Well, I can't see the Brooklyn Nets letting him walk out the front door like Danny Ainge did. Even though I think Marks is over him.
Let me pause to say for Razor, because he's saying Fluent's confusing a player's current form versus his full body work. No, Razor. You guys are confusing what I'm saying, which is I'm not talking about what their full body work is. I'm talking about their current form. So you guys are confused on what I'm saying. Okay, so go ahead. So yeah, I think Kyrie Irving, back to that question, I think Kyrie Irving's gone. I think he's gone, and I wouldn't be surprised if Durant. What has Durant shown you to make you think he'll stay if everybody's gone?
Oh, very simple, Tone. How about last season? I'm 100% confident KD just signed an extension. He just signed a 4-year extension. And that extension wasn't contingent on Kyrie Irving staying.
Did that stop Paul George from getting his way out of OKC?
And I'm glad you mentioned that too, Tone, because we're gonna have a conversation in a couple of months because the collective bargaining agreement is coming up, and we're about to dead that. We're about to dead that. These guys forcing their way out of other places because after they sign an extension and now this thing isn't working, they're gonna have to come back. They're gonna have to come off some of that money. So we're gonna have a conversation. That's a different conversation for a different time. But it didn't stop Paul George. No, it did not. But I don't think Kevin Durant wants to be anywhere else. I don't think so. But Kyrie Irving also said too, because I take a lot of stuff that Kyrie Irving says with a grain of salt. Kyrie Irving is the same one who said, quote, "I can't see me leaving Kevin Durant here by himself." He said that, but he also told us that he will stay in Boston if they'll have him. He said that. And then he also told us he plans on staying in Cleveland, but he forced his way out of there. So Kyrie Irving is one of them dudes where he tells me one thing, it goes in one ear and out the other. I'm not 100% on board with anything that he says. So
I hear what you're saying. And let me just quickly, Matthew Colosimo, Fluent is the only guy in the world who thinks Kevin Durant is not a superstar. No, you're seriously not listening. I said I think he's due for a drop-off. That's all. Listen, a lot of people said Tom Brady is due for a drop-off. And he proved them all wrong. So I might be the first one. So guess what? If Kevin Durant has a drop-off in the next 2 years and they don't make the playoffs or they get knocked out in the first round or he doesn't live to expectations, plays less than 50 games,
we're going to relive this.
No one's going to come back and say, oh, man, right. But
no, we're going to revisit this. We absolutely will, Tom. Yes, we will.
But these people in the chat, all the chatterboxes aren't. But what they will do is if Kevin Durant comes back next year, averages 30 a game, they go three rounds into the playoffs, they'll remind me, oh, this is still yeah, but if he drops off, you're all gonna be fucking
okay, well, before
it's gonna be
crickets.
Okay. So do you guys think that both of you, Jay, do you see KD getting another ring before he retires? Yes or no?
I don't think so.
Okay. Fluent? You're saying no if you're saying he's probably going to drop off from here.
No, actually, no. I think Durant will get another ring because I think that Durant will find a way to get a ring because that's what he's done in the past.
Yeah. Okay.
Like he's not ashamed. And listen, I don't knock Durant for going to the Warriors, but he sought out a ring and he went and got 2 of them. So he threw a monkey wrench in the whole thing. He did. Yeah. Do I think that Kevin Durant is too prideful to go to a team that's a contender to get another ring or 2? No. So I think he does get another ring. He might not be the best player on the team. He might, have 2 other players that are really great beside him. I don't know. Why would we think he wouldn't? Right. I look at history and I'm surprised, Jay, because you're a history buff. You look at history because it tells you history. It's cyclical. The world is cyclical. So he did it once. Why wouldn't he do it again?
Well, the reason why I'm saying that is,
I'll tell you right now, I would be the Robert Horry of basketball or what was that guy, Charles Haley of football. I would go from team to team and win my rings. I have no issue with that at all.
The reason why it's just a bad look for him, considering he already had to deal with what he had to deal with when he went to the Warriors. We'll start there. Not only that, but to leave the Warriors and then to go to Brooklyn to now have my own unit, and then it doesn't work out. So now I'm going to go jump on a bomb squad again. I can't see Kevin Durant.
Oh, I think Kevin Durant is like me. I think he doesn't give a crap what anybody says.
If that's true, Tony, if he didn't, Tony, he'd still be in Golden State. If that's true, that's not true, Tone.
Over many people, I think he's just really sensitive.
Absolutely, he's got rabbit ears. Kevin Durant is not only is he sensitive, he's got rabbit ears, Tone. Absolutely, and if that was true, he'd still be in Golden State if he didn't care what people said. He would have signed the extension, and he would have stayed with Steph Curry, and he would have stayed with Dre, and he would have stayed with Clay. Absolutely, but the fact that
he wanted to prove something, though.
Of course, and why did he want to prove something? Because he's got rabbit ears. Well, the reason why you won is because you got on this unit with these guys. You can't do it with you being the lead dog on your own unit. Oh, you don't think I can do that? Well, he picks Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn, and it doesn't go well. In fact, it hasn't been going well.
And he failed. He fell flat on his face.
Right.
Not his fault, right? Because the players he picked Shame on him, on the guys that he picked the team up with. But he fell flat on his face, and then he got it. And look, and he's never really like. When I say he's not fully back to what he was pre-injury. He may never be back to what he was when he was in Golden State, which was phenomenal, a superstar in Golden State. Maybe he never gets there. So let me quickly say, because I want to touch on a couple of guys in the chat. One, Isaiah Y. I appreciate him saying, Fluent, I'm not running. I'll be here to remind you that you were wrong. Yeah, see? Will you be here to admit that you were wrong? Probably not. To Razor, you're moving the goalpost, Fluent. No, I'm not. This is what I've always said. With all due respect, thank you. By your logic, if a random player averages 30 points in a season, you're calling them a superstar. No, if a random person averages 30 points, if that's the number, is considered an elite, like top 3, 4, 5 player in the league, is the number one definite best player on their team, is all NBA, possibly all defense, and leads their team deep into a playoff run, then yes, that season they played like a superstar. 100%. They played like a superstar. If you deny that someone who averages 30 points a game is all NBA, all defense, leads their team, let's say, to the NBA final as the number one option that the team is built around, and you say they didn't play like a superstar, then you're just hating on that player.
Well, it's a difference between playing like a superstar, Tone, and being a superstar. There's a difference between being a runner and running. So I think that we kind of splitting hairs here, Tone. Which one is it? Is Kevin Durant playing like a superstar, or is he a superstar? Which one is it, Tone?
Kevin Durant, as for his career, is a superstar. I don't believe moving forward he will play like a superstar anymore.
Stop saying play like a superstar, Tone. Is he a superstar moving forward? Because what you're doing though, Tone, is you splitting hairs. He's played like a superstar up until this point. Now you're telling me that moving forward, and moving forward, playing like a superstar, which now has him being
are done. I think his superstar years are done. That's what I think. That's what I think.
But at the end of the day, he will be considered a superstar. We can all agree on that.
He's been a superstar long enough. Like I said, that's why I think Jordan is the good example, right? Jordan we'll always look at him as a superstar, one or two greatest players of all time. But we all agree, Washington, he did not play like a superstar. He didn't. So that's what I'm saying is I think we're going to see that decline of Kevin Durant now moving forward. I hope I'm wrong. I've said this before. I want every player to stay healthy and play their best at their peak for as long as they possibly can.
Well, that's not realistic.
I know it's not realistic, but it makes the game. But what I'm saying is I'm not trying to put bad juju in him. I'm just saying, like, I want everyone to be that way. Like I've told you this before. I want to see Zion. I want to see that 30 and 15, capable guy out on the court. But I also said when he got drafted, I keep bringing up, he's going to be injury prone. He's going to have issues with his weight. Well, that's what he's been so far. I want to be wrong. I want to see these guys play because we all know the more talented, skilled players that we have who stay healthy, who play at their peak, the better the game is. And I think the one thing we all agree on, we want the best basketball because we love this effing game so much. And we want to see the best players playing at their best. That's all. All right.
100%,
I think
100%.
I don't know if I missed anything or did I talk through?
No. I think you wrapped it up good. And I'm sure this is something that we'll continue to come back to because the chat's not going to let us forget. But it's good. It's good to have a platform to kind of explain yourself because it did get miscommunicated. But hey, it's good. Like you said, good for views, good for our conversation.
I went back and watched it, and I realized that I was getting fired up, and I was talking in past tense, and I was trying to speak in future tense.
Exactly.
And when I get riled up, I know that I'm, which is why I try to.
Tone it down. No pun intended.
Yes.
Okay. I know we're getting close to the end, but I do want to go over the top 5 small forwards of all time. I want to hear your guys' list and kind of break that down. Jay, do you have those ready?
I do.
Off the top of your head.
My top 5 small forwards of all time are, in order, James, Bird, KD, Doc, Scotty.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Love it.
What were the 5? Say them again.
James, Bird, KD, Doc, Scotty. Now, I want to make sure that we crystal clear that you could be a better player, but you're not better than me at this. I want to make sure that we crystal clear on that.
Okay. What's that look?
I have 2 lists. That's why.
Here we go. See,
Tone
here we go.
You're so complicated.
Here we go. Oh my God.
No, it's not that
Oh.
complicated. Not that complicated. But here's my list. Here's my list. Top 5 greatest small forwards of all time: Larry Bird, Elgin Baylor, Kevin Durant, Dr. J, Kawhi Leonard. Now, if you're going to throw in, because those are true small forwards. If you're going to put in and say who's the best like listed small forwards, then you just slide James on top of that list, and bump everybody down one. Because I think he's a point forward, and I think a lot of his accolades come from his passing ability, the fact that he handles the ball.
Okay, but as commonly,
if we're talking traditional, like what he's listed as the 5 positions, then it's James, Bird, Baylor, Durant, Dr. J.
So let me get
no Kawhi on that second list.
Kawhi
gets Kawhi on that second list. Okay.
Let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So James is a point forward, which Bird actually was a point forward. Not only was Bird.
For Bird, he played a lot more in the front court, which explains like why he has 3 more rebounds a game than James.
Averaged almost 7 assists a game too.
And only one less assist. So I understand.
Average almost 7 assists a game.
He played a lot in the front court. Yeah.
Handled the basketball just
traditional. Sorry, not traditional. I see him more as a small forward than James. I think James is more of a point forward.
Handled the basketball, and Bird handled the basketball just as much as Dennis Johnson did. Handled the basketball just as much as Danny Ainge
Not as much as LeBron does, though.
Not as much as LeBron, but pretty close to it. Pretty close to it. In fact, Bird was their best playmaker.
I have James on top of 2 lists. Like James is the best point forward of all time and the best small forward of all time. If we go by tradition.
So you're a point forward and a small forward. So
I think the game has evolved past those 5 positions. I really do.
And maybe that's true, Tone. Maybe that's true. But the point forward was the small forward. You just added point to it. Not you in particular, but that's what it was. So Scottie Pippen was a small forward who handled the basketball in that triangle offense. So now they put the tag point forward on him. And this was 25, almost 30 years ago.
Pippen would be on my point forward list. He's not on my small forward list. But Draymond Green is a point forward, but he's a power forward or point forward. So that's why I make that distinction. Again, I know you want the traditional 5. So my traditional 5 are James, Bird, Baylor, Durant, Dr. J.
Well, this is what has to be understood. I understand that the game evolves, and the 2 guard does something different today than he did back then. Point guard does something different today more than what he did. The power forward, the big man, they all do things different. However,
they do more.
They do more. Not only do they do things different, they do more. However, they still do things in the traditional sense of a small forward. So the swing man, that's what the small forward is. The swing man, he's your best player in transition. He's probably your best perimeter defender, right? He's your best finisher. Now, when you get a guy like Scottie Pippen, who was now the primary ball handler, now you add the name or you add the tag point forward to his title of small forward, because now he's, in addition to being a small forward, being your best player in transition, being if not your best finisher, one of your best finishers, your best passer, your best wing defender. In addition to that, now he's my primary ball handler. Now he's also my primary playmaker. He's that as well. Now you fast forward 25 years later, now you got a guy like LeBron James who's doing the same thing that Scottie Pippen was doing, who's doing the same thing that Bird was doing, only except he shoots the long ball. Only except he scores a little bit more. But he's still doing the same thing that these guys were doing 35 years ago. He's still doing the same thing that Bird was doing. He's still doing the same thing that Scottie was doing. He just added a little bit more to it. That doesn't negate the fact that he is a small forward, though.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing. I think it does. It's tough, right? Because players do, someone said positionless. It's not positionless. And we can go down that road, but it's not.
It's not.
And I guarantee if you've ever played basketball, and I don't know if you have or not, the guy who's commenting, you know that it can't be positions because you have to make significant, here's the positions on the court. This is what you need to do. These are your responsibilities. Now, those responsibilities have been added to and have changed because players do so much. Mm-hmm. But my point, to go back to what I was trying to say, is that I feel like you're going to do a true small forward a disservice if you're comparing him to a point forward. And in certain cases, you're going to do a point forward a disservice comparing him to a traditional small forward, because a guy like James and Pippen, well, more James, and maybe James is the exception because he's the unicorn who does everything. But they're going to have a ton of more assists, and people are going to compare that person and say, oh, look how many more assists he has than that other person. And you're like, well, yeah, because this was a traditional small forward who was a slasher and a transition guy and a defender. He didn't handle the ball because of the offense and the system that they played in. He wasn't a point forward. He was a small forward. And then you compare him to someone else who does those things. Plus, he brings the ball up the court and he gets additional assists. Oh, that player, when we look statistically, and I know that's what you shouldn't do entirely, but when you look at them statistically, you'll say, oh, well, he's better because he has better stats. Well, no, it's because he had a ball in his hand and his usage rate was up and he ran the offense and he got a lot of assists and those types of things. So that's why I get what you're saying. We want to stick to the traditional five.
No, I don't. Here's the thing, though, Tone. I don't want to stick to the traditional five. What I do want to make sure that we understand is I want to make sure that we understand that the guy who is the small forward, who's an upgrade, he still does the stuff that small forwards did 35 years ago. I mean, LeBron James just passed Scottie Pippen all time as the best, as the leader all time in assists for small forwards. Scottie Pippen was that guy. And this was 30 years ago, but Scottie was still doing those things. So now we still have.
Well, that's a small group of small forwards that do that, though.
That's why we're talking about the top five, Tom. That's why we ain't talking about the top 30. That's why we're talking about the top five. So, when I talk about, when I talk about the small forward today, I'm talking about the guy who still does what that guy did 30 years ago, what that guy did 35 years ago. Because Elgin Baylor wasn't just catching the basketball and shooting. Elgin Baylor was handling the basketball, right? Dominique Wilkins wasn't just catching the basketball.
Elgin Baylor was, but Jerry West was the primary.
Jerry West was the primary ball handler. However, Elgin Baylor wasn't getting 38 a game by Jerry West setting him up. No, that wasn't the case. He did average 14 boards, Tone. He was taking the ball off the backboard and he was going with it. Not only that, Dominique Wilkins.
Yeah, 100%.
The point that I'm making is that these guys that are small forwards today, they do more, but they still do the traditional stuff that small forwards did back then. That's why they're elite.
I'm agreeing.
That's exactly why they're elite.
Guys in the chat, here's an example. Guys in the chat are saying, so like how many threes are centers shooting today versus 25 years ago? That's the point, though. Yes, they do more. So now some of them, not all, some of them are shooting threes, but they still do more. Like their primary role is still the traditional, not necessarily, but working in the post, blocking shots, defending, rebounding. That's still what they do more. Do they shoot some threes? Like Cat shoots threes? Sure. Drummond doesn't shoot threes, or does he? I don't even know. But at the end of the day, yes, every player does more, but they're still at their core. And this is where I think I get into it a lot with some people is that because I still state what they do more, the primary role, what they're expected to do. Can they do more? Yes. Can they do other things? Yes. But their primary role is still to do those things, those traditional things, like you said, right? So,
and I still stand on the logic that you being your small forward, even in today's game, your small forward is probably the most complete player on your unit today. Your small forward, even back then, is even though
the small forward has always been like the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah,
that's
who he is.
A ball handler, a shooter, a slasher.
Right, that's who he is.
Right, a passer. They need to do all of those things.
Right, yeah. And I know I catch a lot of heat for this when I put Scottie Pippen as a top 5 small forward of all time. Absolutely, and the reason why I say that is because of everything that he did, and not just as a player. How he performed in the playoffs, how he performed in the regular season, the kind of defender that he was, the kind of playmaker that he was. I am 100% confident Scottie Pippen is the top 5 small forward all time.
I tell everyone when I was a freshman, I was asked to play the 3, which was not my natural position because I'm only 6'3". Mm-hmm. But I tell everybody it helped me so much because I had to shoot, I had the ball handle, and so when I transitioned to a point guard, it was really easy because I'd already felt comfortable. Plus, I could post up and rebound because you had to do those things as a 3. It was probably the best thing they ever did. I will go back to Isaiah for a second because when he says LeBron is a small forward, he's a 3. It's not rocket science. Yeah, but here's the funny thing. He is a 3. However, when I get into arguments with people about what they're listed as, right, when we talk about Tim Duncan and Steph Curry and what they're listed as, well, LeBron has been listed as a point guard, a shooting guard, a power forward, a small forward. I think the only position he hasn't been listed as is a center. Who knows? Maybe next year he'll be listed as a center.
I don't pay attention to that.
I need to do. I don't care what they're listed as. I told you I was listed as a 6'4" point guard. Except
DeMar DeRozan this season was listed at the 4.
Well, it was a 4. It was a power forward.
Are you kidding me?
Yes. So you know,
Yeah.
6'4" power point guard, except I was a 6'3" shooting guard.
So
All right. What else we got?
Well, rapid fire real quick,
Okay.
just so because I want to know.
Wow,
Jay, I'm gonna
time
start with
went
you.
fast.
I know the time went by fast, so we'll wrap it up after this. But real quick, top 3 point guards next season.
top 3 point guards next season. Steph,
Okay.
Trey, Ja.
Ooh.
No. Steph, Luca, Trey.
Okay. Fluent top 3 shooting guards next season.
Oh, I thought I was gonna get the point guard when I was all ready for you.
Nope.
Top 3 shooting guards. Who's the shooting guard? What do we? Okay, top 3 shooting guards next season.
It's tough, but
I know I'm trying to think who's considered a shooting guard.
Devin, Clay.
I'm gonna go Curry.
No. Oh
Curry's a shooting guard to me. I don't care what you say.
Fine.
I'm gonna go Curry, Tatum,
point guard neither.
Book.
Okay. Jay, top 3 centers next season.
Top 3 5-men next season are Embiid, Joker, Cat.
Okay.
Just FYI, JD now has a huge crush on you, Jay, because you said Luca number 1.
Oh, yeah, he loves his Mavs.
They got Steph listed as a point guard. I don't think Steph Curry is a point guard, but they got him listed as a point guard, and that's what I have him at. I don't think he's a point guard. I don't.
If anyone wants to continue the argument with me that that Steph isn't a shooting guard, all I'll say is this: I will pass it off to someone who they probably respect more than me. Go talk to Richard Jefferson, who I had a one-on-one with. I know you did too. And he agrees with me that Steph is a shooting guard. So you go talk to Richard Jefferson.
I've always felt like Steph was a shooting guard. I never really felt like he was a point guard. But I have him listed. They have him listed as a point guard, so I'm going now.
Listed as a point guard. All right.
Even as early as his scouting report that you read our last pod, like they identified that that's not his real position. But
never trust those scouting reports. Wow, they could be wrong. And hold on. He started, I'm assuming they're talking about LeBron. LeBron started as a center. Yeah, he might have started a game, but I'm saying he's never been listed as a center for a season. Is what I meant by the yes. Magic started as a center too, but he was never listed as a
right.
No, he wasn't listed as a, although Magic would be. Isaiah Thomas brought up a really interesting point. Zeke, like old school OG Isaiah Thomas, where he said if Magic was in today's game, he would be like the most dominant center. That's what they would have.
Incredible.
They would have him running like a
my goodness.
Like he would be, because the average center right now, just so you know, is 6'10".
Yeah, so they're built different now a little.
He would be a center, and he goes, and it would be so because he's not going to change and be like, you know, outside jacking up threes from the logo.
No.
He's going to be going high post, and he's going to be coming down off the break after getting the rebound, and he goes, and pardon my language, I'm quoting him, and scaring the shit out of defenders of what he's going to do, because they're going to be like,
Well, think about it, Tom.
Obviously, the pass, like, yeah.
Think about how fast the game is today, and that's absolutely who Magic is.
Yeah,
that's not sort of kind of who Magic is. Magic wants the game to be out of control, but in control. He wants you to get him the basketball and run. That's all he wants. Now he can play in the half court, absolutely, but get the basketball to Magic and run, and I will get you the basketball. Don't worry. He would be awesome today.
Oh my God, yes. Hold on one. I'll let you get to keep the reference. Miles Ellison, yes. You should super chat that, by the way, but okay, anyways. And make sure the likes are up. So Fluent, KD won't be a superstar next season. LOL, just to confirm. Yes, to confirm. I don't believe Kevin Durant will fit my definition to play like a superstar next season. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Haley, go ahead.
But no, you're good. I mean, the last one I was just gonna ask you, top 3 power forwards next season.
What's a power forward? Give me some names, I'll tell you.
Top 3 4-men next season.
I don't even know who they listed this. It's positionless now. Remember, we don't.
I think Giannis.
Not DeMar.
Giannis is one.
I guess is Bane the power forward.
Who? Bane?
Desmond? Yeah.
No, Desmond is a 2. I think he's a 2.
I think he's
really.
Oh, I think he's a 2.
I guess that makes sense.
Anthony Davis. Giannis.
Zach LaVine. Oh no, he's a shooting guard.
No, Zach LaVine is a shooting guard. Because because you got the 4 man. He's just so. I think Bam is a 4. I would just like we talk about Steph Curry being a point guard. I think Bam is a great 4 man. I think he'd be perfect.
Yeah, he plays the 5, but yeah, you're right.
I think he'd be great at the 4.
I'm gonna go with Giannis. Next year, you know what? I'm going to go Giannis. I'm going to pray for Anthony Davis because I need my Lakers to be successful. So I'm going to go Giannis, Davis, Pascal Siakam.
I'm going to go Giannis. I'm going to go Anthony Davis, and I'm taking it a step further than that. I think Zion going to be a top 3. I think.
I forgot about Zion. Oh, I forgot about Zion.
Yeah, I think Zion's going to be a top 3-4 man next year.
I hope so, man. I'm so excited to see him play again.
Yep.
It's been so long. I hope he holds up. Both AD and Zion are going to be great additions again. Yeah. Oh yeah, Bam.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Some people have said Bam. Giannis, obvious choice, and Draymond. I don't know about that one. I love Draymond, but I don't know about that.
Come on.
That's bold. But anyways, I mean, I don't have any more. I don't know if you guys want to get to the rest of the draft, so we can wrap it up for the rest of the day.
Okay.
But any last thoughts you have, Fluent, on any of your discussions, or any super chats you might see that you want to?
You know what? Let's take a quick scroll through the chats. Pascal's not a 4. Yes, he is. Watch the Raptors play. He's a 4. What else? So you criticize. I love these. Anything that says "so you criticize," I'm going to read. So you criticize comments about positionless basketball and then spend 10 minutes arguing about trying to classify current players. Did we spend 10 minutes arguing about trying to classify? I don't think we did that. So don't worry. Be happy. That's your name. You should take your advice. They have to list players at a position. Yes, they do. Imagine. Okay, hold on. That's how you get their stats. Imagine in 15 years trying to explain why Steph is a combo guard and argue he is a top 10 ever without saying what position. Well, that's because Steph is a shooting guard, and I don't know why you want to make him a point guard. He plays the shooting guard position. Let's see. I think that's it for the chats. Is there anything else we want to share? Do we want to share anything else? Do we have any news? You know what? I do. I will share one thing because Jay is too humble of a man to say it. So I want everyone who's watching and anyone who watches later on to go to Chilltown Hoops. That's this man's YouTube channel, and go watch an incredible interview he did with Clyde Drexler. By the way, I finally got a chance to watch the whole thing. You guys looked like you were old friends. It was fantastic. You did a great job, Jay. So very well done. Very well done.
Did you was that a recent interview, Jay?
Did it on Tuesday.
Oh,
Tuesday and posted it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Have you ever met him before?
Monday. No, I didn't. That was the first time.
It was your first interaction. Wow.
You know what I like? I like how you asked him, what should I call you? And he said, Clyde is fine. And you're like, oh, growing up, we used to call you Drex. And as the interview progresses, you feel more comfortable.
I'm calling him Drex. And he told me to call him Clyde. I'm still calling him Drex. And it's just going and it's going. And I'm still calling him Drex because I just remember when I was a kid, when I was in high school, when I was in college, that's what we called him. And he was Drex. He wasn't Clyde. He wasn't Clyde Drexler. That's Drex right there. And I just, and it wasn't until after the interview. Right. It wasn't until after the interview I'm thinking to myself, I kept calling him Drex. What was I thinking? Oh, no.
But I'm sure you're a great speaker. I'm sure you made him feel comfortable. He probably didn't even think twice about it.
Hey, Glide, how come everyone says you couldn't go left? Which he could, by the way. I just want you to know, because I brought it up, but someone posted on TikTok, Clyde can't go left. So I took 5 seconds and I went and grabbed and put together a package of him driving and laying up with his left hand or dunking with his left hand. And yeah, I never heard from that guy again.
No, of course. And you won't.
Shut him up.
You won't.
Yeah, that's why sometimes I don't like to shut people up, because then I never hear from them again. But
hey, if their feelings get hurt that easily, then they don't need to be on the app.
That's why I do it. That's to shut people up. You started this, just so you know.
I want people. No, I like when they comment and share and post and do that kind of stuff. Like I said, it helps the algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Like when people say you suck, I'm unfollowing you. I'm like, 1, you weren't following me, so cool. 2, thanks for the comment, because now 10 more people are going to see this. I really appreciate it. And I say thank you, and they're like, you're a jerk. I'm like, awesome. What do you mean awesome? And they keep responding back again. again, and I'm like, dude, I'm sitting in a meeting that I don't want to be in on some stupid Zoom call, listening to, the P&L statements of whatever company. And I'm like, all right, dude, I'm just, I have nothing else to do but
Because
sit on the chat. So
because they say those things to gain attention. So once you give it to them, they want more and more and
and
more.
Yeah.
That's
you
just the
asked
type. It's just
since you
trolls.
asked- yeah, I know. But since you asked, I will tell you, I'm a VP of growth for for a multinational tech
Oh,
company. So that's why I sit in a bunch of meetings.
I love
And
that.
I'm like, nah, 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 nah. So when people
You
are like,
just
what do
have
you
all the
do?
time.
How are you chatting all day? I'm like, yep. And in between meetings, and Jay asked me, how do you have time like to post so much? And I'm like, because
Yeah.
there's always like half an hour in between meetings. So I'll
Yeah.
just 30 minutes, I can do 10, hey, find a random stat and be like, I know you're more fluent. And off I go. And I don't care. Like you said, it's the high production values. It's put the camera up and you're done.
Yeah. That's
Mark
smart.
Williams to the Hornets. Any thoughts?
I'm looking at this kid, Walker Kessler from Auburn. Yeah, I think he's a steal. The Memphis got him first team All SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He was at North Carolina for a little bit. I remember him. He was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Hey, babe, Baba G Cuts wants to know best Baba G Cuts. I like it. Wants to know the best version of KD, 2014, 2017.
Probably 2017, because he was on that unit and that Golden State Warrior team was better defensively, which made him look better than what he actually was. I mean, even though he was the MVP in 14, I think that 2017 version, because of the unit that he was on, they made him they enhanced a lot of the stuff that he already was able to do. They illuminated that. So the shots that he was getting those shots in Oklahoma City, only except he didn't have three people hanging on him. It was just one-on-one at that point. And that's why it just looked so much better than it did in Oklahoma City, because he had 2 and 3 people hanging on him, as opposed to
I feel because he was in a really like open flowing offense. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say he didn't exert energy, but because it was so free flowing and all the responsibility wasn't on him, he had energy. And I think that's what 2017, to answer the question, is that's what he played his best defense. One, because of the team defense, like you said, but two, so yeah, I think 2017 as well. He's best. Host Haley.
Yeah, well, thank you guys in the chat for joining us. It was fun, kind of doing the draft. Although the draft is like already, like the main pick's already over when we got on, so that was nice that we could kind of chat about that.
Recap. I'm surprised. I thought Portland was going to trade the number 7 pick for OG Anunoby. I would have really thought that was going to happen.
About that. Yeah.
They did
not. I don't, like we said, who knows what Portland's doing, but maybe we'll see next season. But for now, Jay, do you want to take it away?
Until then, take it light, but take it.